Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last episode of Still We Persist for the 2020-2021 year. Today, we'll just be going through a wrap-up for the season, and we'll just be reflecting on this year's season. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to say.
Do you want me to try something, or do you want to give it another shot?
Yeah, actually, Shaina, you can go. Well, actually, I think I can do it. I can do it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last episode of Still We Persist. We'll be wrapping up this year's season, and we'll be reflecting on some of our episodes. Thank you all for being such a supportive audience. We really appreciate being able to share these stories. And I will pass it off to my co-host to introduce themselves and possibly do their land acknowledgement as well.
Yeah, thanks, Mia. I'm Shaina. If you've watched any of the other episodes from season 2, you've probably seen me on there. I am currently in Louisville, Kentucky, in the Jeffersontown neighborhood, and I specify that because there have been so many different nations who have lived in parts of Kentucky, and I'm specifically on the traditional homelands of the Osage, the Eastern Band of Cherokee, the Shawnee, the Adena, and the Hopewell people. And in the case of Kentucky, Indigenous peoples have been forced out by legislation and violence, but a lot of members of these nations are still in Kentucky, and I'm working from their traditional homelands. Mia, do you want to do the land acknowledgement for Corvallis?
Yeah, and I forgot to introduce myself earlier, but yeah, as if you've watched previous episodes, my name's Mia, and I use she and they pronouns. Um, and I will give the land acknowledgement for Corvallis in Oregon. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. So today, I'm acknowledging that Corvallis is on the traditional homelands of the Marys River or Ampenefu Band of Kalapuya people. Following the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855, Kalapuya people were forcibly removed to reservations in Western Oregon. And today, living descendants of those people are part of the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde community of Oregon and the Confederate tribes of Siletz Indians. We pay respect to their elders, past and present, and we'll go ahead and take a moment to think about the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today, for me at Oregon State University, a land grant institution.
So Mia, you and I are meeting today to talk about what we've learned from doing 15 episodes and talking to so many guests who taught me things that it would never have occurred to me to think about. And I guess let's start with what are some things that you've learned that will stick with you?
Yeah. I feel like I've learned so much from the conversations in this podcast, but also just like going through the process of doing a webcast, and the process of like being in these conversations, not necessarily the conversation themselves, even though I've learned so much from that. But some big takeaways for me, like this webcast has really helped me to like better develop my listening skills. Not that like I was having big issues with that before, but also kind of was. Not because I was like choosing to tune out, but kind of just like my mind was just going so fast always, or like also disassociating a lot. And thinking like, I think it goes along with the white supremacy cultures, like uplifting of being in like a state of urgency and always having to like have something going and have the ball rolling all the time. And I think it would cause me to like disassociate a lot with people and not really like fully absorb and think I was listening, then like not actually doing that. So this has really helped me do that because like and it's such a joy to listen to people and to hear their stories. And you learn a lot more doing that, and then you can also like respond in a way that's more intentional and impactful. So that's like, I still have growing to do there, but this has definitely helped me grow in that area. And then another thing was like balancing over preparedness with just being in conversation and just letting a natural flow, just letting that happen and letting like authenticity come out. I struggle with that even still, but like it's definitely, this has really helped me work on that and has like made me more aware of that. And so like at the beginning of these episodes, like I would have not only like questions written out that I might ask, but like I would also be thinking about like, oh, how might I respond to that? And just like so overthinking it. But since maybe like middle of winter term, I've think been doing a lot better with that. Like Shaina and I still plan out questions to ask, and like we send them to our guests, which I think is helpful. But also I have been able to enjoy the conversations most when like, okay, I have my questions by me, and that's good. But also like, what am I really connecting to right now? And is there something I'm like genuinely curious about that I want to ask? So I think that's been able to come through more. And yeah, I learned that balance of like being like prepared for a conversation versus just like being in a conversation. And there's so many other things like in the actual conversations we've had, but I don't want to take up too much time, and want to let you have a chance to respond to that too, Shaina. So what have you been, what are your big learning takeaways from this season with Still We Persist?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about kind of the meta level of actually doing a webcast too, since you mentioned that. And I've learned that I really enjoy interviewing people. Like I can't say that I'm great at it, but I love being able to ask someone questions when they're talking about something that is really interesting to them. And I don't know if this is the opposite problem of what you were describing, but it's different in that like when I'm talking to somebody, I think of like 5 different questions I want to ask next. And um, I think if I were interviewing someone on my own, I would do the background research and know about their work and their lives to the extent that's relevant. But I probably wouldn't write out questions just because so many come to mind as I'm talking to a person. And it's it's been a good experience for us to plan because I think with 2 of us hosting, we do need to have like more of a flow. So it's a different experience. I'm just interviewing somebody one-to-one. And then more specifically with the content of our episodes, I want to say all of them stick out to me, but that doesn't really make sense. So I I think we, as of our recording right now, we talked to Risa a couple of days ago about Okinawa, and Risa just did such a great job of setting up the historical and the current context of Japanese imperialism, like Japan annexing an independent kingdom, the independent kingdom that like Okinawa um, was sovereign under, and in addition the US military having so much influence and kind of treating Okinawa as like this paradise that soldiers just get to go to and use the place and the people however they want. It it was very important, one, because of the specific injustices that are happening in Okinawa, but also Risa talked about some of the connections with other indigenous struggles. Like the people of Okinawa are indigenous to that place, and there's that treatment from outside people who use force is like you pointed out connections with so many other forms of colonization and imperialism, and those connections, it, as much as it's terrible that they exist, like from a learning standpoint, I think it was a kind of an appropriate episode for the end of a year when we've talked about issues like this in different contexts for over a dozen episodes. So yeah, there's a lot more I could say. I've loved every one of our guests and our conversations, but I'll stop there for this question.
Yeah. That episode was really impactful for me too. And I know it's fresh on our minds because that was one of the later episodes. But yeah, just thinking about like dual colonialism of an area and thinking about like how, oh yeah, this is a really familiar story. And like this is sadly like too much of a familiar story of like so many other regions on this planet. And yeah, it that conversation by itself, like just that one, really got me thinking more about like how I want to contribute like more to breaking down um, oppressive systems like that and that oppressive power. So yeah, definitely been thinking on that more. Um, what has been an episode for you, Shaina, where like, and this could be the same one, but where you felt some joy coming through, just like from the conversation, or like one that's like made you smile or like connect on some deeper level?
Okay, can I pick 3 episodes? I'll try to describe them all briefly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one, like chronologically, was when we talked to Sonia Camacho about mentorship and being a woman in STEM, and I I related a lot to what Sonia was saying about using your experiences and like your interest in talking to other people to be a mentor. And Sonia is just like such a great personality, and I loved a lot of just like being able to see myself in the experiences that Sonia was describing. And then Rati D, Mia, I'll give you like tons of credit for just setting that up and being able to do a live event. And our attendees, it seemed, based on the chat, just love being able to be involved in something like that. And Rati D's music is incredible. And it was like we were sharing that experience with the community that like all year we've been trying to find ways to just connect when we're not in the same place. And that experience stands out to me as a feeling of like, oh, this is the Aya community. And then most recently, when we talked to Karina about just like how the feminism of her family is is her work. Like it not only inspires her research, but like that's what it's rooted in. And that I've known that the WGS department at OSU is very supportive of us like making our work personal. But seeing the way that Karina does her work was like, oh, I can actually make a PhD out of the most important things in my life. So I'll turn the question back to you now.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similar connections with certain episodes. I'll say Karina's episode with us and like conversation, I'm so grateful for, because like you said, like, wow, you can make a PhD out of something so close to home, close to roots, close to your heart. And um, just the fact, like, was reading a bit of a curanderisma book, and I have been talking about it a little bit more this year, and just learning about it a little bit more. And, here's Karina, like, writing papers on curanderisma, feminism, and like writing what that is and how like that can um, be a tool like used against institutional harm. It's just like, whoa, like people are thinking about these things, and like they're on our campus, and whoa, like, this person is showing up in other spaces that I'm in too. So that was really exciting one. I connected with that a lot. And then just me holding the Chicana identity as well, and figuring out what that is for myself too. Like the episode was yeah, it was good, really good timing in my exploration of that. And another one, yeah, Razzi D was awesome. I was telling Shaina earlier today, I was listening to that episode again, just, to hear the music and to hear Razzi D's words on like empowering girls, young girls, and women as well. And like, that's the kind of art that I love. Just like it empowers people. And yeah, that was a great episode, I think. And also it was live. And for the folks that did join, that was really cool. Like a heartwarming experience. Another one, and this will be the last one I mentioned, but of course they all are special to me. But the other one I want to mention too is a community care episode with Emily and Alex, because we got to talk about like nature and nature's involvement with that care, and like bringing people together. I think there was like even mention of sand, and just talking about how like, there's one grain of sand, but they're all together, and just like making a ton of like nature metaphors that I just love. That kind of reminds me of like the emergent strategy episode with Tamara too, which was so cool to like connect with Tamara again, who has been involved with Aya in the past. And um, got to talk about like practices. And yeah, that was great. They've all been great. It's been really good to have these conversations be a part of my work. So wow, yeah, I'm just reflecting on that, and that's powerful. Yeah, I'm proud of um these moments we've gotten to share, Shaina, and then with y'all audience.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of things. Like one, if you really enjoyed our conversation with Tamara about emergent strategy, you can see Tamara on, I think, the entirety of season 1 of Still We Persist. So several episodes there with this co-hosts. This is, my camera is turning itself off. I'm sorry, audience. I'm not doing this. I don't know if it's going to come back consistently, but I apologize. And then I also wanted to say the episode that you and Alex did where you were cooking live and then we posted it later. That was awesome too. And I love being able to pull Alex in, like you could somebody like in their element and doing something that she really loved doing. So yeah, okay, I can stop talking about individual episodes now. And one thing I'm curious about, Mia, is since you're graduating, especially, and you'll have lots of other opportunities to with either the skills that you've learned from doing Still We Persist, or from like the ideas that our guests have shared with us. What will you like? What projects will you take all of this into? Like, what can you do now that you've learned so much from Still We Persist?
Yeah, I love that question, Shaina. Like I love that a lot. Because like it's like reflecting or building on the growth that this webcast has taken me on. And a lot of other things combined in with that too. But yeah, right now actually I well, okay, one thing for sure that this has showed me is that I want to have more conversations with people. Like you learn so much and they're important, whether it's stories. I mean, they're mostly stories and people talking about their work. um, like I really enjoy that, and I appreciate the chance to listen. um, and I think where this will go, and this stemming from Still We Persist, me watching like listening to other podcasts, really enjoying like cultural or nature-based, food-based documentaries. I really think, and this is like far out probably, but I want to have like my own docu-series. Like I want to direct something like that. And I don't know exactly my steps to getting there, but I feel like this is a pretty good step. Um, yeah, like I would love to be able to like film, create like a series, how I said, and have like important conversations revolving around like environmental justice as it's like stemming from colonialism, or like just having conversations important to me, which I feel like a lot of other people will feel as well. And actually, I was just writing in my journal today how like I really, and I was telling you this earlier, Shanna, but like how I really want to document or understand more the relationships in my family, and how that has changed, due to colonialism and colonial based assimilation. Um, and by relationships, I mean like relationships to things that like bring us aliveness. So relationships to plants, to the elements, to other family members. And I just want to hear more of my family's stories and more of the history that's remembered. um, and I was thinking even about doing like an oral history project, and I don't know if that would be like something public, but for myself. And this is like given, I've built my listening skills through this webcast. I know what questions are can nail down questions that are important to me now. And yeah, so that might be the thing that's next. I'm also in conversation with a friend from OSU who graduated about doing a podcast, and I wanted to call it um, Co-Creating Consciousness. And I want it to be about like BIPOC artists and hearing about how their work furthers community care, or like what they're disrupting with their work, or what they're bringing together with their work, like the intentionality behind it, the purpose. So I want that to be a thing. So those two things. And then eventually, I don't know how it will work, but yeah, I really want to do a docu-series and like travel to different places, and not just like any places, but areas where there's been like resistance against environmental harm, again relating that to capitalism, colonialism, um, or like going back to Mexico and learning more about the culture there. So yeah, that's my long answer to that. But I'm curious to know the same for you, Shaina. Like, how do you imagine this influencing what's next?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you do, Mia. Like I know you're a very creative person, and you also you put your inspirations to use, if that makes any sense. Like when something catches your interest, you like do something with it artistically or otherwise. So I know there's going to be some good stuff, and I hope we keep in touch so I can see all of these things that you're doing. For me, I am currently very focused on a PhD, but working on something, a project like this, like Slowly Persist, and some of the other things that the Aya team has done, has shown me that it's not just, it's not only through writing that I can express myself and have an interest in, writing a lot of papers all the time, but these episodes, these conversations, and the opportunities we create for each other by having guests and then putting all this out in out in the world as far as YouTube can get things is also like, it's also scholarship in a way. It's something that I can incorporate, like not only into my PhD but also like a part of my activism, if you can think of this as activism. And I also, like you said, I love having conversations, and I've been listening to podcasts for 10 or more years, and I've wanted to do one. And I know if I ever got something like that off the ground, it would just be, conversations with people about social justice and the things that are important to them. Hopefully that will pan out at some point. But yeah, any final things you want to say about Slowly Persist this year?
Um, I think just gratitude from me. It, like Shaina and I both have said, this has been a really great opportunity to grow, and we'll be influencing further things for both of us, it sounds like. And whether that's just like in our daily conversations or like actually committing to a project. But yeah, thank you for listening. You know, like it's hard for me to like look back at these episodes and like watch them. It's like uncomfortable, but it's cool when I see like there's like 50 views below or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, 50 people like saw this, and like I hope y'all have gotten to learn a lot too, just from listening as well, and maybe you've connected with some of these stories or like people's work and what they're doing. Um, yeah, just thanks for listening, and there's a lot of love here. Hope you feel it. Um, yeah, those are my last words. And yeah, a big thank you to KBVR, because y'all have been putting this together, and you do the production side of things, and that is very appreciated too.
Yeah, thanks for watching, you all. If you're one of the 50 people who's seen an episode, or the one person who's watched an episode 50 times, we love you. We're glad to have you here, and hope you have a great summer, and we'll see you again in the fall. Bye.